I will call the January meeting of Lawrence City Council to order. It is 5:30, so we'll begin on time. We hope Ms. Campbell will join us. But I do see that we have a quorum with all members of City Council present, excepting her. So I will call upon Ms. Miller to begin us with the invocation, and I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll go from there.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for this new year that you have let us see. Lord, we ask you to bless this meeting, let it be what you will have it to be. Let us to agree to disagree in love. Lord, let those who are here be pleasing as to what they hear, but most of all, what we do, let it be pleasing in your sight. Bless this city and city all over this land and country. Bless the leadership, Lord. Bless the leadership of the United States of America and all countries. Lord, we just thank you for what you've done. We thank you for what you're going to do. Bless those who are less fortunate than us. Lead us to higher heights, if it's your holy and righteous will. These and all other blessings, we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. I appreciate everyone coming tonight. We are, of course, meeting on Thursday rather than Tuesday, as we normally would this week. We had some additional paperwork that needed to be prepared by our city attorney and our acting city attorney, Mr. Lawrence Flynn, and we also wanted to make sure that we were fully in compliance with all notice rules, since we are considering some important matters tonight. And while we had published notices we normally would, unfortunately the agenda wasn't published on the city website, so we, respecting that, moved the meeting to tonight. So we have before us tonight some important matters, and I'll sort of go into detail about those as they come. But I do want to give an update on some other projects we have around the city. Construction is continuing on the police department and is progressing nicely. The footings have been poured for the walls. Interior demolition has been completed, but that project is progressing nicely. There are renovations ongoing at City Hall. Second floor of City Hall is pretty unrecognizable, but they were hard at work at that today and look like they're close to being able to putting up framing inside to make additional use of that space. We are nearing completion with the pedestrian plaza downtown, which is exciting. Plan to announce events to celebrate that opening when it is completed. We continue to have strong interest in economic development in Lawrence, and particularly with regard to affordable housing. We have plans to present to City Council in the near future on annexation of the Watts Mill site. We're excited to move forward with a project there, which would help redevelop that site after decades of lying dormant. And just this afternoon, we had a chance to meet with another group that is interested in bringing additional workforce housing to the city, which is desperately needed. What was exciting about that is we've had a lot of interest in single-family homes, and folks that would like to purchase large tracts and build a house and sell those houses and move on. What has been harder to attract until this time is folks who are wanting to be invested for the long term and provide rental housing to meet that market, which we have so much need for. In order to be able to provide houses for teachers and hospitality industry workers and graduate students and new residents of the city who just may not have money in their pocket for a down payment. We really have needed that, and it's nice to see that both the project on Holland Hill and another prospect are moving along. And so I hope to bring plans to that about that to City Council as soon as possible. Those are some of the things that are happening throughout the city. But I will move us on our agenda to the public participation and hearing. We do know that this is a hearing. Given the matters on the agenda, we wanted to make sure that that was included. I don't see any members of the public that have signed up, so we'll move on. The third item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes and the minutes from the special called meeting of January 10th, which we held our executive session. That was the only matter before council. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Miller, seconded by Ms. Lattimore. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And at this time, if there is any discussion needed further discussion needed regarding nomination of an employee to a municipal court, I would entertain a motion to enter executive session. On the other hand, if council is prepared to move forward without that executive session, we can do that as well.
And in your packets, you should find letters of recommendation from Judge Williams and Judge Ware.
I move that we forego executive session, move forward with new business.
All righty.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of just moving past executive session and taking on new business indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. All right. Next item of new business that we have is the approval of the nominee for appointment to employment in the municipal court. This is something that we have discussed in executive session, but this is not something that the public at large is largely aware of. So for the sake of the record, anyone watching, I will say that it was with sadness that we had to accept the resignation of our former judge, Jackie Williams, who has decided to retire from her position with the city. But we wanted to move swiftly to fill the position as our municipal court judge. We solicited input from our local bar to see whether or not there were any licensed attorneys who might be interested in the position. We posted on the Municipal Association website to see whether or not there was any interest in the position. And we also let our staff know internally that the position was open. And we had several applicants to the position, which the city administrator and I interviewed. And what became clear to us is that the best recommendation that we could make to council for this position was Corporal Terry Anderson, who was already employed with the City of Lawrence Police Department, who has dealt intimately with the issues that are involved in municipal court on the other side, but who we also have a confidence from very thorough discussions that she would be able to maintain a degree of independence and impartiality that's required to serve in that role. And so she comes to council with the recommendation of Judge Williams and Judge Ware. And just for your benefit, for the record, I'd like to read those. It's not an embarrassment to you. Judge Williams says, "Dear counsel, it's with great honor and pride that I give my recommendation for the confirmation of Ms. Terry Anderson as the Chief Municipal Court Judge for the City of Lawrence. I've had the opportunity to work with Ms. Anderson for a little over 2 years in the City of Lawrence. During this time, I was consistently impressed with her diligence, efficiency, and relentlessly positive attitude. Ms. Anderson has a unique ability to be stern, yet empathetic when necessary. I'll be proud knowing that Ms. Anderson is picking up the baton after me. Please do me the honor of supporting her as you have supported me." And then Judge Ware, Collie Ware, who is our Associate Municipal Court Judge, has also worked significantly with Ms. Anderson. He writes, "Dear counsel, I worked with Ms. Anderson during the past 2 years and have found her to be dependable and smart with an extremely strong work ethic. She's very eager to learn and would definitely be an asset to the Lawrence County City Municipal Court. I would encourage you to confirm her appointment to this very important position. Thank you for your consideration of this request. Sincerely, C.W. Ware." So, with the recommendation of our Associate Judge and our former Judge, on my recommendation and that of the City Administrator, I present Ms. Terry Anderson to Council as our nomination for the next Municipal Judge, and I would ask City Council approve that nomination.
I would make the motion to approve Ms. Terry Anderson as our next municipal judge. Very good recommendation from those two. And I just say the experience I had with her today, she's a very sharp person. She knows her job. And I make the motion that we accept the recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Lattimore. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would like to say that when she first came, I was very impressed with her. She handled herself well, and I think she would be the very ideal person for this position.
I think it's great that we've got some continuity going on here, and that's important. That's good.
We have had some changeover in positions, but one thing I will say in the City of Lawrence, whether it be City Administrator or Police Chief or now Municipal Judge, the cooperation and continuity has been sort of a hallmark of the way we've handled things, and it makes us proud to have that. I would like to say there's an awful lot of work that goes into being a police officer and being a Class 1 certified officer. And Ms. Anderson is not just moving to a different position, she's giving up a qualification that has taken a significant amount of work. This is a hard-working lady who has gotten not only her degree from Clemson University, hoorah,
Never heard.
but she has also obtained her master's degree. I think it's clear that she is not only a hardworking, smart individual, but the fact that she's willing to make a sacrifice to even apply for this job is something that I tremendously respect, and I want to publicly thank you for that.
Speak for you.
I agree.
Speak for you. And person local. She Lawrence born, Lawrence breed.
Homegrown.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second, so we'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of Terry Anderson as the City of Lawrence Chief Municipal Court Judge, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And that is unanimous. So, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Ms. Anderson, do you have anything you would like to say for the benefit of City Council?
Years talking about. I appreciate you guys thinking so highly of me and considering me. I'm going to do my best, and if any of you see anything that you want me to work on, feel free to please let me know. I'll give it my best.
Thank you. Proud of you. All righty. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. The next two items really deal with the same topic, and we discussed this at length in our executive session the other night. But again, for the benefit of the public, I do want to do just the briefest of recaps so that we sort of give a little background information. The City of Lawrence, more than 10 years ago, entered into a contract. I believe I'm right with those dates. Entered into a contract with Carolina Waste Industries, which became,
Waste Management, which became.
Waste Management Industries, which became Green for Life. Same company, different name. And City Council approved an ordinance which set a monthly trash pickup fee at $11 and provided that this private company would pick up trash on our behalf. And we were in a situation where the city, for the past decade plus, has provided customer service and billing for this private company, and they have provided our trash service as a private contractor. The contract that we entered into with them had several, had provisions which would allow for their compensation to be increased as the consumer price index changed. However, our city fee did not change because it was set by ordinance. That led to a situation where the city was spending roughly $1,200 a month in billing. And on top of that, we were losing $132,000 a year, essentially paying for the profit margin of this private contractor. In July of this year, we were required to give notice or not as to whether or not we wanted to continue under that contract. If we did not give notice in July, it would have automatically renewed. And so we gave notice. And the city administrator and I sat down and we talked with them about their service issues. And we basically said, it's not that we're ruling out doing business with you in the future, but the level of service needs to improve. We intend on bidding this out. And if you would like to bid, you are certainly welcome to. But we're exercising our duty under the contract to give notice that whatever the terms may be in the future, they aren't going to be what they are now. So we had an open bidding process. The open bidding process would have required anyone that provided service to the city to take on those customer service and billing duties that we're currently costing the taxpayer. It so happened that while we got interest from several companies asking questions about the bids, the only bid we received was one from Carolina Waste Management. Over the course of the next couple months, we worked with Carolina Waste Management and the county to determine what the fees would be to the average household for those services. The reason why I say the county is because there is a tipping station, there's a landfill transfer station, which Lawrence County taxpayers have paid for at the Lawrence County landfill. That would include taxpayers from the city of Lawrence. Because we had a third-party contractor in Green for Life collecting our residential waste, that meant that that commercial contractor would have to pay a tipping fee at that transfer station. That is a tipping fee that residents of the city of Clinton do not pay because the city of Clinton collects their own trash. Therefore, whether it be Green for Life or Carolina Waste Industries or anybody who's a third-party contractor, they would have to pay that same tipping fee. The only way to avoid paying that tipping fee would be for the city of Lawrence to collect its own trash. Early this month, in January, we received notice from Carolina Waste Industries.
So we received notice from Carolina Waste Industries around December 28th.
That's right.
And then the following week, we met with GFL.
Thank you. So very late in the year last year, we received that notice from Carolina Waste Industries, and they informed us that they were withdrawing their bid. We have no ill feelings towards Carolina Waste Industries. We wish them all the best in their service that they provide to customers. But that did leave the city in a position where we have to come up with an alternative. And so what we discussed as council was, given the contractual implications, what options does that leave us with? We could either get out of the trash business entirely, everybody fends for themselves, but we know, given conversations from from Green for Life, that because of the impracticability of having to drive to the landfill at Twin Chimneys in Pelzer, simply to avoid having to pay the tipping fee at the Lawrence County transfer station, that they were no longer interested in doing business in this territory. So once again, city residents would be facing finding a trash service provider when there were virtually none capable of serving the needs of the entire city. And if they were, the rates would certainly be significantly higher than they are now. So out of concern for our residents and maintaining a level of service for our residents, the city administrator and I decided to crunch the numbers to see what it would look like for the city to get back in the trash service. And we believe that the best option available is for the city to purchase 4 new trash trucks those 4 trash trucks would have 3 that operate on a daily basis. Trash would be collected throughout the city Monday through Thursday. Friday would be used as sort of a cleanup day or to address any issues, anything that, for whatever reason, went awry during the week. 1 of the trash trucks would be kept in reserve, so there's always a backup, and that backup would be rotated so that there's a standard level of wear and tear on all the vehicles. Additionally, we have long discussed with City Council the need to address the needs of the Streets and Sanitation Department headquarters in what we not so affectionately call the city barn. And we have all recognized and agreed that that is a substandard facility, that we need to replace that facility and provide them with a space that is fit for use and comfortable and serviceable. And so the proposal that we have made is that the current recycling center, which is owned and operated by the city, would be expanded to include additional storage space for city equipment, workshop area. It would also provide additional showers and the kind of amenities that we need for our streets and sanitation workers. A customer service desk would be located there for customers to drop off, make payments for trash, but also report issues if there are any. A covered area would be provided for people who want to drop off recycled goods so they don't have to do that in the rain. And the funding that we're seeking tonight would complete renovation of that facility as well as provide for the trash trucks. You would also purchase all of the existing trash cans, which residents have now, from Green for Life at a discounted rate. So there would be no need to buy new trash cans and replace that equipment. The last thing that it would do would also be to expand a convenience center for drop-off of goods that the city could then in turn take to the county landfill. We have also long discussed the difficulty of illegal dumping in the city. And what we frequently find is that there are people who have tried to do things the legal way and taken things to the dump, but for whatever reason they have been refused or it hasn't been open, or for whatever difficulty they've had, it's easier for them to just go find a side street and dump it. So the expansion of this facility would also provide a convenience center, so we make it easier for people to abide by the law rather than making it easier for people to violate the law. And that's just a common sense way of getting at the root of the problem rather than wallpapering over it. So there are different ways of obtaining the funding for this project, should council wish to go ahead with that. One would be to do a lease purchase in the amount of $550,000 to obtain vehicles and equipment. We have located suppliers for trash trucks. There will be a delay in being able to obtain those trash trucks, and so we have looked at lease options to be able to make sure that at the same time that Green for Life stops providing service, we're able to pick up that baton and provide seamless service to every resident in the city, even if that means renting trash trucks for a couple months until the new vehicles come in. If by doing a lease purchase, we're able to purchase that equipment, we still need to pass a bond that would provide for the expansion of the physical facilities at the recycling center. The difference between the two measures that are before you is a general obligation bond must be done by ordinance, whereas a lease purchase resolution would allow the city to obligate future funds in future budgets, which would provide immediate funding to be able to purchase that equipment. Whereas a general obligation bond would take a bit longer to pass than a resolution because we have to have multiple readings, but it would mean that we would have the funding in plenty of time to be able to expand that physical facility at the recycling center. Really, the issue here is time is of the essence in obtaining adequate funding to be able to purchase the trash trucks, to be able to get those in place as quickly as possible to be able to provide that service. And the lease purchase arrangement is according to council's recommendation, the quickest way of going about doing that. The reason we looked at all types of bonds, there are revenue bonds in which we could obligate the revenue that we receive in the terms of the monthly fee. And that would mean that we don't have a set off against the city's overall debt limit, but that also would mean that we would have a less favorable interest rate. And so it was council's recommendation to us that a general obligation bond would be the city's best option, and we still have plenty of debt capacity to handle anything that we need to for a rainy day. The city's finances are strong. We have plenty in reserve. We have more than 6 months operating budget in reserve. We have healthy revenues coming in from all ordinary sources, but this is not something we budgeted for as a council. We didn't anticipate this situation when we passed the budget in July to provide for buying 4 new trash trucks, excuse me. So at the advice of council, this is the presentation that we bring to council and ask for approval of a resolution which would authorize a lease purchase agreement for trash trucks in the short term. And we would have first reading on a general obligation bond for an amount not exceeding $1 million for expansion of streets and sanitation facilities, purchase of other equipment, et cetera. So those are the matters before council. The first of these on the agenda is the lease purchase resolution. Do I hear any motions concerning that?
I make a motion that we accept this lease purchase for the trucks.
Thank you, Ms. Lattimore. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Mallon?
No, no, I don't know whether this is the right, but I have a question on what you said in your presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
The reneging of Mr. Paz, of the waste management, whoever it was. Is it anything because he left us in this dilemma at the last minute? and the choices that we have, and we don't want to not provide the service for our citizens. Is there any kind of way that we can, that he just, since he had signed the contract? Had he not signed the contract?
There's no final, there was no final contract that was signed, because there was an ongoing discussion with the county about whether or not that tipping fee should apply to a commercial vendor serving the city, collecting trash sort of as its agent. So the short answer to that is there's no violation of any contract or violation of any agreement because it wasn't finalized.
So we will have to pay a tipping fee also?
Like the city of Clinton, because if we collect our own trash, the city of Clinton is able to use that transfer station and does not pay a tipping fee. City of Lawrence, if we collect our own trash, we should be able to use that transfer station without paying any tipping fee as well.
We should be able to, but we don't know for sure.
We requested a resolution from the county. I didn't mean to mince words there. We requested the resolution from the county, which confirmed their policy.
Was there any chance that that policy could get changed? Was there any discussion about trying to, I mean, that's just a county policy, it's not something.
It is
Something they could change if they wanted to.
It is. I would expect that they would hear from us if there was any thought of that. And the city administrator, in requesting that information from Mr. Higgs, the county administrator, made very clear what the purpose of the request was, what the information was being sought for.
So there was, I mean, there's no chance of, you know, the way I see it is they're not going to get a tipping fee one way or the other, whether we hire it out to have our trash collected or we do it ourselves.
Correct.
Because if you say you're going to pay a tipping fee if you hire it out, we're going to go in-house, you're not going to get the tipping fee. So by letting us, untying our hands, they've tied our hands is what they've done because of the tipping fee, correct?
That's correct.
So,
But I want to make very clear, it is not my desire or intention to have any sort of animosity. Yes.
no, I don't have any animosity. I just,
Between the county.
sometimes I wonder if we get treated a little differently because we're in the city when it comes to county matters.
In this instance, we have been treated differently than our neighbors because the city of Lawrence would essentially be, they have paid taxes towards a solid waste landfill fee to help pay for that transfer station, and the transfer station was not available to us in the same way that it had been to the city of Clinton because we didn't collect our own trash. So but I wouldn't say that that is the fault of the county because as long as their policy is even and across the board and we're being treated the same as our neighbors, then we're in good shape.
It just puts us in the trash business again. That's
Correct. I will add this though. The city of Lawrence doesn't have a profit motive. And we were in the hole with Green for Life and will be by contract signed under the previous administration until March. There's absolutely nothing we could do about that until this point, other than do what we did, giving notice, ending that contract. But we were losing $132,000 a year, making up Green for Life's profit margin. So by taking this on, we are going to be able to maintain the household trash fee at the same level it is now. So literally, the only change any city resident should see would be, you may have put your trash out on Friday, now you may put it out on Wednesday.
So does this mean we're gonna be hiring some people too, then?
We've spoken with Kerwin about that, or Kerwin Tribble, our streets and sanitation director. We believe that we have the staff on hand to man this as is. We looked at, in crunching the numbers, what staff salaries would cost. We factored that in to the overall cost that we would be facing. And the numbers still work out, but right now those salaries are already included in the city budget.
Mayor, one thing you might want to bring up, I don't think Martin was at the meeting, was that
I wasn't. I'm sorry, I'm probably asking questions.
the particular trash truck that you're talking about is a smaller truck.
Yes.
One, and it doesn't require CDL license.
That's correct. So
Okay, well, that is big there, because I remember the days when we were dealing with all the
CDL drivers.
CDL drivers were tough to come by.
the horror story, there are two horror stories I hear most often from the city's previous experience picking up trash. One is that we're spending a ton of money on maintenance. Part of that maintenance cost came from the fact that we had old side loader trucks. If I spent an hour this afternoon meeting with Keep Lawrence County Beautiful, and we were talking about how it's sort of notorious with waste management folks statewide that those things break. There's only one outfit in Lexington that fixes them, and it's horrendously expensive. So these would be rear loader trucks. They would also be smaller trucks. That's part of the reason for having trash run 4 days a week as opposed to 2. It also means we would break the city up into 4 quadrants. And if city council approves this, we would be immediately letting the public know where those quadrants are, what their new trash pickup day would be, so that come March, into February, when the city starts picking up trash, they know what day to put it out. But we would run 3 of those trucks in a concentrated area, which means that there's less back and forth all over town, less wear and tear on the trucks. And as Councilor Bolt pointed out, there would be smaller trucks, which means that it would reduce the likelihood that we struggle with finding drivers to be able to drive them in the event that there's any staff changes in the future.
Will be picked up twice a week rather than once a week,
It would be picked up 4 days a week.
4 days. I mean, rather in the area that you say for instance, the Jersey area, wherever the area that is, it would be where we pick up on Friday, it would be Monday and Friday or
You would still have only once a week.
once a week. Okay, that's what I was asking.
In the area.
I thought you said
There are more trucks in the area.
You would have 3 trucks in one quadrant picking up trash during the day. And the only change the resident would see is instead of picking up on Friday, their trash day may now be Thursday.
And so this will hopefully eliminate the fact that certain streets are being skipped because they're trying to bounce around the city to hit other areas.
So the reason that we took this action, aside from the fact that the city was acting as a customer service and billing department for a private company and losing money hand over fist, making up their profit margin, is because not only that, but they were doing a terrible job. And I will have to give them credit. After we brought the matter to the public's attention, the they've done a much better job about picking up. But we would have local drivers that are already employed by the city. They know who we are, they know the streets, and we believe that we'd be able to provide a much higher level quality of service.
I got a question in this.
Hand up front, but
Somebody didn't see.
Okay, and I believe we go by the cans we got now from Greenville and keep the ones we got now, the cans.
There's a mix, depending on what household you have. There's some that the city actually owns currently, and there's some that Green for Life owns. Their plan was to hire a private contractor to come by and pick up all those cans. And whoever the next provider would be would have had to buy new cans to serve the residents. But I will give the city administrator great credit for reaching out to Green for Life and working with them for the city to purchase those cans at $20 a piece, something like that.
20 or 20?
So that's baked into the cost of the equipment purchase. But that means, practically speaking, that residents won't have to change cans or pay to have a new can.
All right, and I guess the people will have an option as to go with the city on garbage pickup, or they can X out and use this Carolina waste if they choose to use that orange can.
That's correct.
But, and people, but the residents, they go be required to have a can. They can't just put trash out on the streets and expect the city to pick it up.
That is the law now.
Household
One or the other.
Household garbage.
You must have trash service. And we will, I think, from what I have heard from council at various points, we understand that the enforcement side of this is also important. So if we're doing our part to make it easier for people to dispose of waste legally, and we're keeping it inexpensive for you to do that at your house, or we're providing a convenient option for you to, toss your old lawn chair by going to the recycling center rather than the landfill, then we should also expect that if there is illegal dumping, if there are people that are not maintaining their waste properly, that there's consequences for that.
The small businesses that uses these bins, now they will continue using their contractor that picked up these small bins, so they'll be responsible, still be responsible for that.
This does not affect commercial trash pickup at all.
And to be clear, if Johnny has sorry, Johnny.
Johnny up, go ahead.
If Sam has a mattress that he wants to put out, would he put it outside of his home, or would he have to take it to the center?
I would say that you'd either take that to the convenience center, or he could go ahead and take it to the landfill. But with that said, as it stands now, we were talking about this afternoon. Our streets and sanitation department does an outstanding job. And if somebody says, hey, I have X that needs to be taken care of, if they call the streets and sanitation department and schedule a time where they put that out on the curb, Kerwin and his guys do a great job about working with folks to make sure that it's cleaned up. Not everybody knows about that. That's why I'm taking the opportunity to say that on the record. But we don't want to add to the problem. We want to try to get to the root of the litter problem itself.
I would challenge us to think about taking out that option of putting it outside the home. Because in my area, that's an issue. And it is a humongous eyesore. And now that we're making it more convenient and we're giving options, I think that we have a good solid stand to say, take one of the two options or else you're in violation of our codes.
In general principle, I would agree with you. I'm sensitive to the needs of people who, if we're talking about an elderly resident and they don't have the means to do it, I always want to try to serve the public and remember that we're here for them as much as possible and reasonable. I don't think that's the kind of situation you're talking about, though.
No, I'm not. But I understand what you're saying.
All right, I have a question.
Yes, sir. I skipped over you. I apologize.
Making sure Johnny wasn't still raising his hand.
You got the floor, go.
Thank you, JP. Refresh my memory, and it's not the best anymore, but you know, at one point we were having such a big deal with tipping fees. The tipping fees was never on household garbage. Did we ever, the city never paid a tipping fee? Did we pay a tipping fee on limbs and?
We pay tipping fees for limbs and leaves.
Limbs and leaves, we do pay that.
We don't anymore.
We don't anymore.
We don't, kind of on our own property.
City sort of mulches its
Well,
own.
that's right, I forgot about it. We did do that. So
It's the green option.
we're agreeing. We don't pay any tipping fees anymore. Because at one time, that was one of the big issues with getting, was commercial garbage, did we pay tipping when we did?
Everything's on commercial garbage.
We did do that. That's where it came.
We did too when they had that transfer station down in Clinton, didn't we?
Yeah, that was for the, commercial garbage.
For commercial garbage, we paid that tipping fee.
And I think
That's a lot of money.
that's sort of the nature of the county's policy, to be fair to them. Like I said, I don't want any animosity whatsoever to come in our relationship with the county. Their policy was, if you're a commercial trash vendor, Jim Bob's Trash Service, and you want to use the tipping fee, or you want to use the transfer station, that's a business, that's a commercial enterprise, and you ought to pay for that service. They didn't differentiate between Jim Bob's Trash Service, where with 10 customers, and all of the residential garbage from the city of Lawrence collected by Green for Life.
I guess I could kind of see that.
So I don't want there to be any impression whatsoever that we're creating discord. This is just simply, what do we do to deal with the situation that presents itself to us?
Well, along the same line, that's kind of similar to our policy when it comes to construction debris, construction garbage. You can't put it on, you have to take it away. You're being paid to do that job, so you're paid to take care of your construction debris, not put it on the curb, put it on our back as a city.
There's an act in it now. There are, or have been in the past, illegal dump sites throughout the city with construction debris. If we have to clean it up and take it to the county, they will charge us for it. Really? They will charge for that, yes.
And that was part of my suggestion, that we stop that convenience of putting things outside of the house, because what happens is, not only is it the mattress, but it's also the construction stuff underneath the mattress.
Right. To be honest, a lot of the problem we have with legal dumping seems to be somebody will hire somebody else to clean out a rental house that they've had, and
That's a big problem.
we may not be talking about an official business where somebody's obtained a city business license to do rental house cleanup. We're still trying to find creative solutions to go after people that are doing illegal dumping. I don't see this as a one-shot fixes everything, but at the very least, if we make it easier to abide by the law than it is to not follow the law, surely to goodness that helps. So, this lease purchase agreement is the way that gets immediate funding by designating future funds from future budget for payment of this purchase, which sounds like a loan because it is, but it's technically different, which is how we can do it by resolution and get it done faster. So we're just simply breaking up the two amounts. So we can do one with the trucks quickly and the other to pay for construction. Any further discussion on lease purchase resolution?
Well, Mark had a question a while ago about are we gonna hire more people to do that? To pick up, help with the pick up the truck.
I believe, and we have Kerwin here for a reason, I think we can do pretty well as we are for the moment.
We do have a plan in place. I can discuss it with you a little bit more after the meeting. So, the direction we're planning on going with this.
Any further discussion or questions? We have a motion and a second. If there is no further discussion, I'll call the question on approval of resolution authorizing the execution of a lease purchase agreement in an amount not exceeding $550,000 relating to the leasing and purchasing of certain vehicles, equipment, and personal property. All those in favor of authorizing this resolution, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. All righty. And the measure is approved, 6-1, with Ms. Sullivan voting against. And that brings us to the question of the general obligation bond. Do I hear any motions concerning the bond?
I make a motion, we enter into discussion of the GEO bond for the streets and sanitation.
Second. We took for discussion, I'm sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second, at least for discussion.
I like to say that instead of paying for approval, because I may vote no.
I used to say, get it on the floor.
Get it on the floor, there you go.
Okay. Well, it's on the floor. That's a question.
Can I ask you a quick, easy first question? Okay, so it's a GEO bond instead of revenue bond. Now, what's our, the big thing is, what's our capacity and what will it take it? What is our currently?
$1.8 million.
1.8, so it'll take us down to 800.
Correct.
What have we got coming off the books? We got some stuff coming off the books.
About 2 more years.
The Ridge is very close to being paid off.
And that'll take how much off of the books?
There's roughly $300,000 left on that.
Does it go down by increments of what we pay or does it?
As the debt is reduced, the overall capacity increases.
It does? It's not like
Well, correct me if I'm wrong there.
There's a lot of factors at play, so, some of it's based on your property value too. So like, property value went up $2 million over the last year, so,
So 8% of 2 million, because isn't it it's based on 8% of
So the
property values? I'm not gonna be an expert.
that'd be,
because the assessed value of all property in the city of Lawrence is higher,
I understand.
we
can
I know you
borrow
do.
more money. I understand that part, but I'm just trying to figure out if we, go ahead, I don't mean to interrupt.
You are correct. We have plenty of bonding capacity at 1.8. We would still have 800,000 for the rainiest of rainy days. Although, if staring down the barrel of not having trash picked up is not a rainy day, I don't know what it is.
Agreed. That's why I'm trying to ask the question. Is it prudent to pull down our bonding capability with a GEO bond versus going against with a revenue bond?
Well, there's a few reasons why we do that. The first reason is we were losing money while subsidizing GFL, so that makes lenders kind of nervous to do a revenue bond. Even if they saw our performa that shows that we can do it with $11 garbage fee, that gives them cold feet, so it makes our interest rates a lot higher. So our attorney advised us to go with the GO bond. He said that it would get it done, a little bit quicker and it would save us money in the long run.
We'd be able to take advantage of a significantly lower interest rate.
And the $1.8 million is linked to $23 million assessed value of last year because GM hasn't certified the $2 million uptick. So, but what I'm kind of getting at is we're going to have more money once it certifies that, more bonding capacity.
What are we talking about difference in interest rate here?
I think we were looking at something like, it was around 4%.
4% for GO bond and about the higher 6%
That's what I recall.
revenue.
So substantial.
We would be saving the taxpayers a significant amount of money in repayment.
Okay,
I'm with you. We wanted to go revenue bond.
my conservative side of me says, hey, let's don't spend everything we are capable of borrowing. Just because we have nice borrowing capacity does not mean we need to pull it down too hard.
That's why we were, our initial approach was to approach this as a revenue bond. And that concern was the precise concern that we had. This would be a relatively short note, though. We were looking at 10 years, as I recall.
Okay.
And so, given the anticipated revenues and the cost savings and the beneficial interest rate, it was council's recommendation that this would be the better option.
Okay. So, Ridge is coming off in 2 years. We have anything after? Any thoughts on what's coming up after that? Anything? Not much. I'm okay with it. I mean, when you tell me numbers like 6%, 4% for saving money, and I understand what you're talking about, little apprehension, risk factor. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Part of the benefit of this, of doing the lease purchase is if we have a $1.8 million bonding capacity, we're not bonding out $1.5 million.
Oh, no, I did, and I'd have a little more heartburn if we were getting down that low. I'm a little leery at 800, but
So,
I don't want to take it down. I'd rather be careful about us taking it down any further than
correct.
in the next couple of years.
Correct. This is not something we have taken on lightly. Certainly not something that we would have liked. I think we looked at every free market option we could come up with, sat down with Green for Life even after they didn't bid, and let them know that we would welcome them to the area and be glad for them to do business here. If we're standing in the gap between no service and the city doing its own, just to put it bluntly, the money's got to come from somewhere.
That's true. And no service would be ran out of town.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Not on my watch, anyway.
I never thought.
I think the benefit to this is there's adequate funds. We have adequate funds to take this on with the money that is coming in. So Lawrence residents aren't going to face any sort of tax increase because of this. There's no need to do that. We have an $11 trash fee. People will continue paying an $11 trash fee, and that can pay for their trash.
And the building and all that.
And exactly, not just the trash, it'll pay for long overdue facilities needs, and we'll stop kicking that can down the road.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I asked Eric, are we still, the council still paying $11? Oh, we still where we are?
All righty. Any further discussion?
I think that, no discussion, just a comment, that y'all did your homework as far as getting the best for the buck and the financing and whatnot. It's good to hear that the roof will be paid for almost, just a little over $300,000, so I commend you all for seeing about something that's been long overdue as far as street and sanitation, place to work out of. And good to hear that, what all it entails, so I commend you and for a job well done.
I'm gonna second that, because streets and sanitation is the last department that's really gotten an upgrade, and definitely needs it. I hate to point out that it is the last one, and it really is. If you look at all that we've upgraded over the years.
Let me give
ignored streets and sanitation, and it's time we do something.
Let me give council credit. I mean, by selling the property on Holland Hill, not only did we provide for new affordable housing coming to the area, that also provided capital for us to put towards that streets and sanitation headquarters. So that will help offset some of these costs as well.
Mayor, when will, the new, station for street sanitation start work on or start progress on that? Do we have any, what you should
We would try to begin construction immediately. We need to go through the proper procurement process to make sure that we have the contractor to build that's going to be able to do that in a timely manner and within the budget. So my hope is that we begin that process in the spring. I mean, with council's approval of this, we begin moving forward with that procurement process immediately. But I would hope that we begin construction in the spring.
That'd be a good thing to see happening.
Yes, sir. This is, I know just from speaking to a number of y'all, that this has been one of those issues where our heart has all been there. But, you know, how do we make the numbers work? And this is a great sort of kill two birds with one stone option.
I want to commend council too. I think you did a great job. As we embark on Black History Month, I hate to see that a lot of the sanitation facility will be in the area of District 2 near St. Paul. But I commend you for those things that you work so hard and diligently to do. And we're grateful for that.
Well, Ms. Sullivan, one of the things that I'm actually proud of with the design is that this won't be a facility that I think anybody would have a problem being a neighbor of. It's part of the effort there is to have a gated area. Of course, the recycling building itself will see a bit of a facelift. But that's something that we've actually been very intentional in our discussions about, is making sure that whatever is built doesn't detract from the neighbors. It's not something that they would have an issue with.
Yes, sir. Especially being across from the school. And building also, remember that, put a place for a female locker room.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we did have a female one time that was with the street and sanitation department. So please remember that. Oh, we had a female.
That's actually one of the issues that we specifically addressed with the architect, is that we want to have shower facilities. The guys have asked for shower facilities, but it's no longer just the guys. So we've got to make sure that we have got those facilities in place.
Thank you for your hard work, Eric.
I have another question that pertains to all of this. Are we gonna get another lawyer for the city?
I'm happy to answer that question, but I will say it's out of order because it's not before on the question before us, so respectfully. All right. Is there any further discussion on the question of the GO bond? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of approval of an ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of an amount of a not exceeding $1 million general obligation bond, Series 2023 for the City of Lawrence, to prescribe the purposes for which the proceeds shall be expended, to provide for the payment thereof, and other matters relating thereto. Please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The measure passes 6-1 with Ms. Sullivan voting against. All right. That measure is approved. That brings us to the end of our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Pro Tem has made a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.